Hey there, and welcome to the Contentment Creator Podcast, the show designed especially for creative entrepreneurs just like you who are committed to a beautiful life that's rooted in courage and contentment, and that's blooming with creativity and prosperity. I'm your host, Ellen Broen, a certified life coach, a singer, a mother, and a lover of alliteration, dogs, and deep conversation. This show is designed to become a part of your daily routine to help you, fellow contentment creator, dig deep to clarify your life vision, catalyze your creative flow, and fuel your entrepreneurial fire in just a few inspiring minutes each day. Each Thursday, we talk about consistency, and today's episode is all about trusting the process of individuation. Let's talk about consistency, but not the date night every Friday kind. Today, we're talking about the consistency of self in marriage. Because while partnership is about growing together, it should never require shrinking yourself. The healthiest, longest lasting relationships sadly don't come from our Spice Girls fantasies of two become one. They come from two fully individuated people who continually choose each other. And here's the kicker. That's not always going to look like moving at the same pace. Sometimes one of you is sprinting ahead in personal growth, while the other is standing still, needing time to process. Sometimes your paths may widen, and you might worry, are we growing apart? But deep, sustainable love requires the trust that as long as you keep choosing each other, the space between you is not a threat. It's an opportunity. Today, we're going to talk about 1, how to grow with your partner while still growing in your own individual self. 2, why individuating is not a sign of disconnection, it's a sign of strength. And 3, how trust plays a role in allowing each other to expand while still feeling deeply committed. One of the biggest mistakes we make in relationships is believing that love requires some degree of self-abandonment. We hear this in veiled language like, marriage takes sacrifice. And while I won't argue that compromise is a part of the game of life, sacrifice too often paves a slippery slope towards self-abandonment. We start collapsing the notion that in order to be a supportive partner, we have to sacrifice our needs, mute our own desires, or minimize who we are to maintain harmony. But here's the thing. The best thing you can bring to your relationship is a whole you, a you who has their own passions, friendships, and personal pursuits, a you who doesn't rely on your partner to be your everything, a you who understands that your individual expansion makes your relationship richer, not weaker. So if you've been feeling disconnected from your own growth, commit to a small shift. Sign up for a class you've been curious about. Spend some time with your own friends without guilt. Reconnect to a hobby you once loved. Because when both partners are fully alive in their own individuality, the relationship becomes a space for genuine connection, not dependency. Dr. Julie Hamilton, in her book, Project Relationship, The Entrepreneur's Action Plan for Passionate, Sustainable Love, talks about the importance of holding space for your own evolution within a marriage. And let's be honest, this is not how most of us were taught to think about relationships. Society tells us that closeness is the goal, that if you're deeply in love, you should want to do everything together, dream together, and grow at the same speed, want the same things at the same time. But let me ask you this. How often do you and your partner grow at exactly the same rate? The truth is, we're always changing, learning new things, developing new passions, shifting our values in response to life experiences. And that's a good thing. Instead of fearing growth that happens at different paces, celebrate it. Ask your partner about their latest passion or interest. See their evolution as a part of the richness of your relationship, not a detour away from it. Here's yet another opportunity to practice acknowledgement, like we talked about in this week's earlier episode, of the way your partner is being in their life. And the part that requires real emotional maturity is this. trusting that even when the distance between you two widens, your commitment remains strong. There will be seasons in marriage where one of you is focused on a new career goal, a personal transformation, or even an internal reckoning. And sometimes that might mean your emotional rhythms are not in sync. One thing my husband and I realized early on in our marriage is that one of our shared core values is growth. And while in theory, it's great that we bond over that shared belief, embracing growth in the way that we do means that we won't remain the same people. Science says that it takes the human body 7 years to replace every single cell with a new cell, making us a physically different person. But if I were to guess, after more than 16 years together, I would say my husband and I live on a 3-year evolutionary cycle. Roughly every 3 years, one or both of us makes pretty huge choices or changes that ripple throughout our marriage and life. And while I love and appreciate my partner in growth, that pattern invites in all sorts of unknowns that test and put pressure on the foundation of our relationship. The fear that comes up in these moments is, what if this time we grow apart? The only antidote to fear is trust. Trust that your bond is strong enough to allow for individuation. Trust that you don't have to force closeness. You just have to keep choosing each other through it all. And when I'm scared we're out of sync, I remind myself that we don't just get through these times, we grow through them together. We choose to find common ground while bringing the new elements of ourselves to the table. So here's the big takeaway I want to impart today. Marriage is not about erasing the space between you. It's about learning how to breathe into that space with trust, curiosity, and commitment. Some seasons, you'll be walking side by side. Other seasons, you might be pacing ahead or falling behind. But if you keep choosing each other with intention, with respect for each other's individuality, your relationship will continue to thrive. So today, ask yourself, am I showing up as my full self in this relationship? Am I allowing my partner the freedom to do the same? And do I trust our connection is strong enough to hold space for both of us to grow? Because when you trust both the togetherness and the individuation, your love doesn't just survive, it expands. Thanks for being here with me today. Tune in tomorrow as we talk about shielding our relationships from the external uncertainties of life. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by leaving reviews and comments. It would truly mean the world to me to hear from you. And hit that subscribe button so you never miss a day, and join me in my mission to help a world full of content creators become a world of contentment creators.